Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Jonathan Larson. He's with the University of Kentucky's Extension Entomologist there. Good morning, Jonathan.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm great, and I'm glad you're back with us today because we have another insect to talk about today. So tell me a little bit about this tick.
So this is the Asian Longhorned Tick. I'm guessing some people have probably heard about it in the news lately. It is an invasive species. It's originally from Asia, as the name implies. It was probably brought to the US in like 2013, 2012, 2014, somewhere in that time frame. Got started in New Jersey on a sheep farm, from what we know, but is now spread to several other states. And Kentucky has had a few finds. We've had 3 different confirmed finds of this tick. The previous ones were on wildlife, but the most recent one was actually on some domestic animals. So we're a little worried that means it's here in the state and is established now.
And one of those counties that it was found in was in our viewing area, Metcalfe County, and it was found on a cow. And so does this tick, does it transmit diseases or?
So we worry about that with all ticks because of the way they feed. Just anything that it dines on blood and then is going back and forth between other animals is going to be a possible disease vector. But the good news with this tick is we haven't seen any real disease transmission yet. It's been tested for some of our native pathogens. It can't carry Lyme, but it can carry Rocky Mountain spotted fever, but we haven't seen that in the field yet. And the native pathogens that it has in its native range, they haven't been found in the United States.
You know, one of the alarming things that we've heard with this tick is how it reproduces.
Right. It is very weird. There's no other way to put it. Most ticks are going to find one another, a male and a female. You know, they go on a date, play some Marvin Gaye, and then they make more ticks. But in this case, there's only females. We have found no males of this species in the United States yet. And these females have been reproducing parthenogenically, also known as just asexual reproduction, or sort of like cloning themselves almost. It's a lot like what aphids do when they get on our plants. And because they can do this, they build these huge populations very rapidly. And we've actually seen cases of exsanguination in Tennessee where there were some, I think it was calves, that had so many ticks on them that they almost bled to death.
Because they are aggressive feeders, right?
They are aggressive. They will bite people. They don't seem to like people as much. That's from the CDC. They seem to prefer wildlife, but they have bitten people. There's been a few finds of that. So we're more concerned with our domestic animals, our cattle, our lambs, anything like that. Also worried about the horses. And then we're also worried about wildlife. I have to imagine this will be something that could be a problem for our deer, for our elk, for all those different game species. And they love to feed on lots of different stuff. We found them on raccoons and possums and badgers and squirrels and even turkeys and things of that nature.
Yeah, and that is a concern because usually, you know, with our, dogs and cats, we're checking them or giving them some type of preventative. And cattle even, we're out there and we're checking and probably encourage cattle farmers to check for ticks if they're processing cattle. But wildlife, we're not really checking. And so if they get those numbers on them, they could perish.
It could be very bad for them. And they've already got enough problems. You know, there's encroaching cities and all these other diseases that have popped up. So it is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, and hopefully we don't see any fallback of our native wildlife populations.
Besides being on livestock, is there something distinctive about this tick where we can tell them apart from any other tick?
I would say the only distinguishing feature of this tick is their lack of distinguishing features. They don't have any special signs or markings on them. The Lone Star tick, we can usually identify them by that white dot on their back. When we're talking about the dog tick, they have the collar on their back. The females do. It looks like a lace collar. But for this one, it's just kind of a reddish brown tick. Their legs in the front are a little longer than the other ones, but it doesn't have any distinguishing marks, and it's smaller than the others. So it's easy to confuse some of our native species, their nymphs or their larvae, the smaller versions of the adults, with this tick. But for this one, no special marks. It's just small and reddish brown.
So your advice would be just to make sure that you're protecting yourself if you're in an environment that ticks would be in, and if you do have livestock, to check them for this tick.
Absolutely. Please go out and look at your livestock, be monitoring for these ticks. If you're letting them loose out there, we got to keep a close eye on the situation. And if you find something weird, everybody that is a rancher, is a farmer, you're our eyes and ears in the field. And if you see something odd, I would really like to encourage you to take it to your local extension office or take a photograph of the tick and send it to the entomology department at UK. We'll be happy to try and figure out what it is. We'd love to keep a close eye on this situation and keep a handle on it.
Absolutely. Prevention is way better than reaction with that.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
Jonathan, certainly appreciate you visiting with us today and bringing us up to date on this tick. If you have any questions, make sure to contact your local extension office and we'll be happy to help. Thanks for watching and have a great day.